Okay. All right. Welcome everyone to the May installment of the Lead Educator Development Series. Again, as usual, I invite you to turn your camera on so we can see all of your smiling faces as we approach and get into the throes of summer, which I don't know about you, but I'm really excited about and ready for, and have been enjoying the warmer weather and the sunshine lately. It's been a good time around here in this area. In spite of some of the weather issues that we've had lately, this week's been really nice, right? So we are going to kick off our time together. I'm going to share with you our agenda. As usual, we have our check-in. Our training focus for today is around accountability region educators. So we're going to have a best practices roundtable featuring some examples, and just really spend some time in this session around idea sharing and how are you engaging with, connecting with accountability region educators in local county offices. And then we will have our lead educator briefing from Dave Varner. And then we are going to end our time for this May session. If you can believe it, it's been a full year now since we launched the whole lead educator concept. And so the team that's been planning this has a survey put together. And we're going to spend some time giving all of you time right now to complete that survey for us, and then we'll share that out too in case we miss anyone. So let's kick it off. Megan, are you ready for our check-in?
Yes. Yep. I sure am. So we wanted to kick things off on a little bit of a lighter note, and hopefully you've all dedicated a little time this summer to relax and unwind, perhaps take a vacation. And so for something fun today, we wanted to go ahead and ask about a favorite vacation spot in Nebraska. So if you'll pull up chat and go ahead and put in one of your favorite places to go, we would love to hear from everybody, and maybe catch a few ideas of our own, and make some mental notes on where we would like to attend this summer. Oh, Fort Robinson is really popular. A couple of those already. Valentine, the Niobrara River, to do maybe some floating trips. Those are always fun. Broken Bow, I see Platte River State Park. That is very fun. I've been there myself. Nebraska City, always a good place to go. A family cabin in Lynch on the Missouri River. That's cool. Hiking near Smith Falls, also out by Valentine. The zoo in Omaha. Who takes a vacation in summer? Well, Sarah, hopefully you're blocking some time to spend it with your kids, at least a little bit of time, so you can enjoy a bit of summer.
It's really just because I love my farmer. That's it.
Well, and if you farm too, it can be hard to just take a vacation in general, isn't it?
Sarah, my thing is, if I want to go on vacation and take the farmer,
yes,
we can't go in the summer because between my schedule, fall schedule, and his schedule, yeah, we don't get a summer vacations. Inconceivable. If I want to take the whole family.
Yep, I can relate, Jennifer. I know how it goes. Okay, a few others. Harlan County Reservoir. So if you can't vacation in the summer, make a few notes of these, because there are some good ones that I'm sure would be really fun in the fall as well, or even in the winter. I know our family's even done the Ponca State Park cabins over Christmas break, and they are super fun, and it's kind of cozy in the wintertime and fun to take a winter trip. So make a few notes while we're here and in the chat area of some good places you would like to visit. And with that, now that we're all in vacation mode, we want to come back together and maybe visit for a few minutes about a few work-related things. So Megan, I will kick it back to you for the bulk of our content today.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan. If you've not been to the Ashland glamping cabins, I highly recommend those as another spot in Nebraska. I got to experience those last year, and they're super cool. I cannot remember the actual name of the place that we booked, but I'll look it up and share that. But they're really, really fun. And they book out really, really far in advance. So a good winter opportunity too, because they're year round. Yes, Kimberly Creek. Yes, thanks. Jordan. Yeah, that's it. Kimberly Creek, Ashland, year-round glamping. All right. So our content for today, our training focus is around accountability region educators. And as we were talking about this topic, this is one that came up. Certainly when we kicked off our April training last year in 2021, when we, if you can remember, we kicked off the whole lead educator concept with a 2-day virtual training for those of you that were here in 2021. I know we have new folks that have joined us since then as well, but the accountability region educator piece is one of the pieces of the lead educator role. It's one of the letters, if you remember our letters of A through K. I can't remember exactly which letter it is, but it is listed out specifically in that roles and responsibilities list around engaging accountability region educators, connecting with them and helping to facilitate communication with them among the office team. And so we did want to spend some dedicated time to focus on, how do you do this as a lead educator? This is one piece that we got a lot of feedback on around I'm not sure what my role is in this as a lead educator. I'm not sure, how far do I push with this? What do I need to do in this space? Just from that lead educator lens. And so that's the focus that we want to take on this topic today. So it's not necessarily about what you as potentially an accountability region educator can do, but more you as a lead educator, thinking about the framework of your county space, the county office that you serve primarily as a lead educator. How are you connecting with, and how can you connect with those accountability region educators? So we're going to do a roundtable panel, and I have just a little preview of some of the things we'll talk about, but we'll recap this at the end as well, and we'll spotlight our panel members to give just some ideas that we've brainstormed just on the committee that has been working on this training series. So that is of myself, Lisa Caslon, Megan, Lisa Pup, Troy Walls, Mariah Newmeyer, and Erin Labori have all been working on this for the last year. And these are some of our some brainstorms around this topic specifically. So we're going to share these out. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to invite our panelists, so Lisa and Mariah and Carly and Alexa, to share with us ideas around this concept. So Lisa, would you want to kick us off since you have something to share?
Sure. So a lot of you who are lead educators and they're focused on the extension board, you ask your educators in your region to provide somewhat of a report for you. And we get those as extension educators and think, oh my gosh, I have to do this again, right? How many of you think that? So what I kind of came up with was, some of us have 2 counties in our region, some have 5, some have 10, some have more than 10. And so we can't go to all of the extension board meetings every month. If they're every month, we can't even, hopefully we can get there once a year. But those extension board members really want to know, what are you doing in your specific area? So mine happens to be early childhood, but whether it's crops or whether it's horticulture or whatever it is, they want to know what you're doing for them or for their clientele as well. And so, but we also don't want it to be burdensome for you because it can be a lot of work as well to connect. So what I have encouraged people in my office or in my team is that we come up with a report quarterly. So 4 times a year. So again, not all of the counties in your region are going to receive something every month if they meet every month or even every other month, but quarterly seems to be pretty satisfying for extension board members as well. And with that, they also don't really need to hear every little tiny thing you're doing, but they are interested in like the big picture. And so what I have done and what I've encouraged others as well is that you pick one big event per quarter that you would like to highlight. So I have a couple examples of what that might look like. So I'll share my screen here. Here's one. It was on some online classes that I did. It's just one page, fairly simple. It has numbers. It has quotes from participants. Maybe you want to put in there if there was something specific to the county that you're sending it to. And I always encourage people to also put their picture, because not everyone, not all extension board members know who you are. Even though you're in their region, they may not know. So that's kind of another nice way to encourage that connection. Here's one from Jackie Steffen that she did. This was over a childcare conference in Norfolk. So it's one of her accountability regions as well. And as you can see, lots of pictures, it's colorful, but there's not a huge amount of words, but it did get the point across. And this was a really big event in your region that happened. And then again, here is one for co-parenting for successful kids, which is a statewide program that we also do. And so again, just focusing on one area or one event to really hone in on for your extension board. We can also, at the beginning of the year, kind of give a summary of what your activity insight had, you know, so then you can highlight a number of things. But again, I think it's really important that it's only one page. They're really not going to look at much more than that. And if your regions, your extension boards send things out electronically, remember that you can always hyperlink things as well to go to a web page or go to a flyer or whatever it is. So that's just kind of one way that we can connect to the extension boards in our region, or maybe we're asking extension educators in our region as the person who is running the extension board, hey, can we just have one flyer, you know, quarterly to highlight your program area? So that was a little tidbit from me.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa. I'm going to kick it over to Mariah to share some of her ideas that she shared with our group. Nope. For some reason we can't hear you.
How about now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Sorry, I got my new computer and still trying to figure it out. So like Lisa, a lot of my engagement with regional educators revolves around extension board. So previously, before each, like a couple weeks before each of our board meetings, which we meet every other month, I would send out an email to our regional educators and asked if they wanted to attend either virtually or in person, or send me a report of something that they wanted to share with the extension board. And quite honestly, no offense to our regional educators, that just wasn't working out very well. I had low attendance, or you know, people weren't responding to those emails. So this year, we tried something new, and actually I was empowered by this series to do this and work on revamping our extension board a little bit, really to make an effort for more engagement, less of me just talking to them and more of them wanting to ask questions, you know, get that conversation going. So I actually gave our extension board a vote. I'm going to share my screen as well. So this is something, our very first meeting of the year. I asked them what they hope to get out of extension board this year. And I shared with them 3 ideas of what we wanted to focus on. They chose that they wanted to focus on the different areas of extension and learn about each area of extension. So what I did is, again, at the very beginning of the year, I created a Google form with each of our months that our extension board would be meeting, and then asked our regional educators to fill in one of those meetings throughout the year. So just asking them to either come in person or virtually one time, and then they give a 10 to 15 minute presentation of their general area of extension. So not necessarily the specific things that they're working on. I'd like a broad area of what their area is about, and then kind of hone in from there on what their specialty is. So we've only had 2 presentations so far, but the conversation during our extension board meetings has changed drastically. I think the members are more engaged, and it seems like they're learning more about what extension does. So I found that this was really successful. Hopefully it helps somebody out there.
Awesome. Thanks, Mariah, for sharing that and for sharing your screen on that voting process. I like how that gets engagement from the extension board, because they've been involved in choice. They've had choice. And so you picked this, so this is what we're gonna do. And also, as you mentioned, scheduling can be sometimes our biggest barrier. And so by just committing and scheduling and getting all those all lined up can make it easier for everyone to plan around then and be able to commit. So great pieces. Thank you. Next, we're going to go to Alexa, and I'm going to share my screen because I invited Alexa to share a little bit about what's happening in Webster County. Alexa has put together a monthly extension newsletter via SMORE that is not a 4-H newsletter. It is all general extension. And I just asked Alexa to share a little bit about how this idea came about, how she coordinates this every month, and who this goes out to. So I'll share, and Alexa, I'll let you take it away.
Hi guys, I'm Alexa Peterson, Office Manager at Webster County. I do this monthly newsletter. I started it in the fall of 2019. So I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with SMORE. I know a lot of times read it. I do 2 different newsletters each month. So I do a Webster 4-H one, and then the UNL Extension Webster County newsletter. So each month, about a week to 2 weeks before I send this out, I send an email out to our area educators, asking them if they have any information or programs coming up that they would like in my newsletter. You can go ahead and scroll down even. And so in this newsletter, I have our Webster County calendar events separate than 4-H. So any programs that are going on in the area, I throw that on our calendar and in there. That's what that gray bar is. And so I categorize the newsletter by each focus area. So I start off with beef, and then move down to crops and waters, and each focus area. So whatever each educator gets me, I throw in the newsletter, either links that they have or different programs. If I don't receive anything from an educator that month, I pull stuff from either Facebook pages or the UNL Extension website, and then possibly articles as well if they want to continue. So I do that for each focus area. And then I also have our 4-H newsletter in there as well, just to kind of throw out what's going on in the 4-H world in our county. And then other sections, so be separate from outside of the focus areas. And then once I wrap up with that, I start out with our regional experts and have a biography of each educator in our area. And so clientele are able to click on the phone number, the email, website, and have all of their information there. I pull the biographies out from the extension website. And then I also have our team in Webster County, all of our biographies on the website. I send this out on a listserv to our Webster County producers. And then on SMORE, there's also an option to put it on Facebook, Twitter, all of the social media pages. And then I also put it on our Webster County Extension website. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. Thanks, Alexa. Yeah, I love that this is all the pieces together, and Alexa does a great job of sending out an email to all the regional educators and asking them for content. And then, like she said, she makes sure every area is represented. And so if she doesn't necessarily get content for that month, she'll pull the content from all their other extension resources as well, which is great. So awesome. All right, I'm gonna pass it over to Carly to talk about zone coordinator contributions in this area. We thought maybe it would be good to have, you know, a well-rounded roundtable to talk about all the different aspects of support in terms of connecting with accountability region educators and what that looks like from the zone coordinator perspective in terms of onboarding and support. So take it away, Carly.
All right, thank you, Megan. And thank you all for letting me join this conversation. So Megan gave me a few talking points, so I'll just kind of roll through those and give some of my thoughts or perspectives as an engagement zone coordinator and how I feel that we are working to help support the system. So one of the things is just what is the general role of the engagement zone coordinator and how are we supporting the accountability educators who are serving all the counties across the state. And one of the things I thought of with this is really just in the last 2 years, we've been very intentional on creating connections with all of staff, right? I mean, I hope that you all feel that you have a connection with your engagement zone coordinator and just know that whether it's weekly check-ins, monthly check-ins, quarterly check-ins, I mean, there are lots of conversations happening all the time, and we really hope to answer those on-demand questions and concerns. And so one of the things that we have worked on as we're talking with everybody is just really understanding where everybody is and trying to help coach them on ways that they can better improve their reach and serve all of their accountability region. Because as Lisa shared in the beginning, right, some people might only have 2 counties as their accountability region. Some might have 10, some might have more than 10. And so, you know, we heard a lot of anxiety, frustrations, concerns of just like, how do I reach everybody? What does that look like? And so helping to just coach each individual person and maybe push them a little bit more each time to take some risks, try something new, and see if that is going to help them better serve their region. Another thing that we have been working on is just changing the onboarding process a little bit more. And since we have more engagement zone coordinators, more kind of that middle management to be able to connect with outstate staff, we're able to offer a little bit more individualized approach. And so as staff are hired and coming on, we really have been intentional on connecting new staff with each county, with the educators, assistants, and office staff that are there in each county. And whether that is the engagement zone coordinator is coming out and doing a visit and helping making those connections, or it's setting up times for a new educator to come out and meet the office staff, or having a virtual introduction, that is one thing. Again, we're just trying to open the doors and have that warm handoff and say, hey, here's your person, you know, and then, you know, having this relationship form. So it's not this person that you've never met and you say, I'm not getting any information from them. Like, they must not be doing anything, right? Because we've all been a new person and you're always like very overwhelmed, and it's hard making those introductions that first time. So that's one thing that we've been really trying to work on. And then the last one is the talking point Megan gave me is the expectations of the lead educator when it comes to the accountability region educators that you have in your region. And so for this one, I would just ask that you ask for what you need, right? Like each one of you have had some really great examples on this panel of saying like, this is what I've asked from my account, like people who have accountability in my region, right? So don't be afraid to ask for it. Where Mariah said, I was empowered by this series and this group of people to like, I'm going to do this. And so just know, provide a little bit of grace and space when you are making these asks of people, and know that it might fail too, right? Like you try something, it could not work. And so you might revamp it a little bit. But just know that you need to have a little bit of accountability in it and ask and say, hey, this is what we want. Another thing is encourage them and include them in some of the stuff you're doing, right? Like where Alexa is encouraging and asking for content for the newsletter, but encouraging them to participate in if you have any like big staff meetings or like program planning time or office things, and inviting them to the
extension board meetings, knowing that they might not always come, but at least if they have an invite there, or if there's programs or things that you think that they need to be involved in, or people they need to know, right? Like connecting with them and inviting them into that space. Because whether they're a new educator or a seasoned educator, there's always people and places and things that you don't always know about if you're not always in that county all the time, which is really your role as a lead educator, is to help be in the know for that community. But then lastly, I guess I think of our role in this big thing is, if you are asking for what you need and you don't think that you're really receiving it, or you have some concerns, I would say it's okay to reach out to the accountability regions engagement zone coordinator and just have a conversation with them, because honestly, there might be a lot of things that are going on in the background that you don't always see or think about. And so maybe it is that they are working on something a little bit different, or they have a big project they're working on. And so they're not leaning into serving all of their accountability region for one reason or another. Or maybe it is really that the engagement zone coordinator does not know that they're not reaching out between between all of their engagement or accountability region. So that's just an important feedback loop. So those are my kind of 3 talking points that Megan gave me and my thoughts on them. So I'll turn it over to Megan.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Carly. The other piece that I wanted to add from some of our notes is in terms of ideas, and that goes back to part of what Alexa shared as well, was around having rack cards or business cards or profile sheets available for each of the accountability region educators that serve the office. I know specifically in Webster County, I know a lot of offices already do this, have a board set up or a wall set up that has all those profiles available. We got those business card holders that go on a desk space. So having updated business cards in every office. I know myself as a zone coordinator, I can't help it when I go visit an office, I kind of look through that card display and just make sure all the business cards are up to date, or, oh, we're missing this one, maybe we need to fill that one in. So I can't help but do that, but that is some simple things, right, that also can be done. So this roundtable is not meant to overwhelm anyone or say, do all these things right now tomorrow, right? Like maybe pick 1 or 2 things, 1 or 2 ideas. If you haven't tried this yet, a couple of simple things would be just thinking about, again, the office space in place, like we talked about last month. What are some ways that you can help promote accountability region educators in your own office space? And it can be as simple as that. The business cards and profile sheets and pieces like that, or the digital newsletter as well. We do know that a lot of you are doing this really well and have a lot of other ideas too, right? This is just a few ideas that we came up with our time. And so we do want to give some time for some breakout idea sharing so that all of you can share ideas with each other. Maybe there's some things you're doing currently that we haven't thought of, or this group doesn't know about yet. And we'd like to be able to give you some time to kind of talk about some of the pieces we just learned about, and then other things you might add. So I do want to kick us out to breakouts, but I would entertain, 1 or 2 follow-up questions to what we've just heard in the roundtable thus far. If anyone has any burning questions they'd like to lift up to the group, spotlighted now, and then we will go to breakouts.
I have a question regarding the business cards. I think that used to be Eric Buck that handled that. Do you happen to know who we contact if we need to order more or update? I don't know.
Yeah, Mariah, I can jump in on that.
Okay.
So currently contact Linda Temple.
Okay.
Linda can help you with those. And we have someone else that we've made an offer to fill Eric's position. So can't announce that yet, but I think within a week we can. So it's pretty quick turnaround there, and a great individual that you'll love working with. But for now, contact Linda.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any other follow-up questions from what we just heard in the roundtable?
I have a multi-county office. What is the most correct place for me to go to get a correct listing of all the educators that have accountability to my 4 counties?
Great question. That would be the, I'm gonna say the epd.unl.edu. And then, thanks, Carly. To look up each county. And certainly, TL, if you see anything that, that doesn't sound correct, I would circle back first with your local engagement zone coordinator to double check on that to make sure that it is. And but that's always my go-to for making sure that like I know who's supposed to be where.
Yeah, and on those one pagers that have all the staff, I think that you're referring to, I'm sure those are just, some of those need to be updated constantly, right? So if you need an update, just contact Michael Reese for an updated version of that one pager. And then, yeah, I agree with Megan, contact your EZC regarding, if there's something that's not incorrect, just make sure we're all on the same page there first before we ask for that to be corrected both on the website, but also in what Michael develops as well.
Great question. Okay, I'm going to open up the breakout rooms for about a 10-minute chat, and we'll invite you when you come back to put your ideas in the chat if there anything else comes up that we haven't talked about yet and we want to share out with everyone. Yes, thank you, Alexa, for joining us and sharing your great ideas. And certainly if others have questions, again, Alexa is office manager in Webster County, and I'm certain she'll take any questions directly as well on the newsletter piece. So I'm going to open up our rooms. All right, welcome back, everyone. Any light bulb moments from that? I know it was quick. Anything else that you'd like to offer up or put in the chat to share that we haven't talked about yet today?
So I'll bring up a question, and I kind of talked this very briefly with my breakout group. So for my lead educator counties, I do have a full-time 4-H assistant in this office. How do I engage my 4-H educator? Because they program so much alike. They program together. And so I feel like it's a duplication when I have the 4-H assistant who is paid with county funds at the boards. How do I engage my 4-H educator without her feeling like she's repeating everything?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. But the first thing that comes up to me, and then certainly Dave, if you have anything to add, jump in here too, would be, I wonder about, from Mariah's idea around the giving an overall 4-H programming viewpoint. So talking about positive youth development as a whole and like where 4-H, Nebraska 4-H is going in the next year or two. Maybe talk about, give an overview of the interest teams within 4-H, like that kind of 30,000 foot view of Nebraska 4-H. That might be where the educator can contribute some additional pieces. Like certainly the assistant would know these things as well, right? And I understand that from the duplication standpoint, but that's just one idea I'm throwing out as a thought. I don't know, Dave, if you have any other feedback on that.
I think that's really well said, Megan. I think just having the individual join the board meeting virtually or in person, just to, that relationship is in place. So just to reinforce that with the board, that we have educators, assistants working together in the 4-H space, and they have their own unique roles. And to talk about that, see what questions the board might even have about that relationship.
Oh yeah, Carly in the chat, that's a good one about when and how to bring in statewide educators too. And thinking about those serving, that might be another area if you're doing, programming updates or overviews on extension board specifically. Are you thinking about our statewide educators too? Might be another resource for extension board content. So yeah.
Megan, in our group, there was a couple of concerns were expressed around just a non-existence of educators serving the region, having any kind of presence or communication within the respective lead educators, county or counties. And so I really encourage you, if that's the case, if you feel like, hey, you're reaching out, you're not getting a response, you're never seeing programming or of any type from the educators in your region, in your respective county, reach out to your engagement zone coordinator. Let's talk about how we can take care of that issue, right? Because that's not our model. There are obviously cases where just talk about community environment educators. So David and Elizabeth and others who have, some of you folks have really large accountability regions, right? So obviously the expectation of how present you are with programming and such in those large geographical regions is much different than smaller accountability regions, right? That just should know. But there are a lot of ways that educators serving your region can connect. I mean, whether it's listservs with local participants or clientele type of correspondence, blogs, websites, local newspaper articles, obviously in-person programs, at least occasionally as well. When you're doing regional programs, making sure that folks in our surrounding counties are well aware of that opportunity. So there should be an obvious effort of educators in your region demonstrating that they are trying to serve your county.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. And with that, we're going to transition over into the next piece of our agenda. So thank you all for your contributions and for sharing out on our training focus. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dave for our lead educator briefing.
All right. Thanks, Megan. So, hey, first of all, it is great to see all of you. So I missed last week, Amplify. I was sick most of the week. And so I just want to thanks to all of you who are there, and thanks for you continue to do in your lead educator role. I've said this many times before, it is a pivotal role in Nebraska Extension to maintain those strong connections to our county partners, to kind of be the eyes and ears at the local level, help along with the EZCs to make sure that Extension is running smoothly and we're connecting and engaging as we want to. So I would encourage you to think about ways to engage your extension board, as we talked about earlier. Think about what we learned at Amplify and how that might apply to activities and ways you could engage your local extension board in talking about engagement. So what are their ideas for the area that they represent, a county or several counties? What are the engagement opportunities with UNL that they have on their mind? And you could have the same conversation with your county boards. But reaching out and starting to ask that question and have that conversation, I think will be helpful to all of us involved, both campus folks and all of us outstate, in determining where those opportunities lay. So think about that as another thing you could do with your boards. Something that just flared up this last few days. We had a situation where an educator was challenged as they were visiting with the county board around critical race theory. Basically accused of a program, something we're doing extension, was promoting critical race theory. We've had a few other just occasional flare-ups in this space ever since UNL released the diversity, equity, inclusion document that Ronnie Green took the lead on. I just want you to know that this happened at the local level in a county, and it has been elevated to the chancellor's office. And we are working on some talking points and strategies to help all of you on the front line deal with this conversation as it may emerge in any space. This could happen in an extension program, could be a question that emerges with the extension board. We've had state senators ask us about this in the field. And now there's more than one county board that's asking questions about it. So you're probably going to hear about this through the grapevine. Just want you to know we're on it, and we're going to be looking for supports to help all of us deal with this, which is an unfortunate circumstance, but it's just something that we will have to, it's going to be part of our educational mission in some ways. That will help folks understand what we're about as a university, what we stand for, and the fact that we are all inclusive. We are out there to serve all Nebraskans. And with the work that we do. So more to come on that. Just want you to know that that's acknowledged, and we're working on it. And thanks to those of you who, when that conversation does emerge in your space, if you would just contact myself and let me know that that happened. And typically what we will do is we'll let Jesse Brophy with INR know about it and Michelle Waite at the UNL level, so that we can get ahead of these issues and help you to the best of our ability to address it locally. Just a few housekeeping items. The first one is evaluations. So if you would please, once you've completed your evaluations with your extension assistants and your extension support staff, share those documents with your local EZC. We're collecting those, tracking those to make sure that we're actually doing annual assessments, performance evaluations for all extension employees, both county and university employed. It's something that shows up in our exit interviews occasionally. It's something we hear from some staff that they've never had one, or they can't remember the last time they had a performance conversation. So what I'm thinking about here could be either the review SNAP documents, the 5 questions we ask if you're using the university system, or in some counties you have your own county evaluation process, and you can simply just submit that report, that summary to your EZC as well. And our EZC have been asked to keep those on file so that we can refer to those as needed. So please do that. It's really important that there's a conversation with all of our extension team members every year. Obviously, we want that to be throughout the year, but we do need official documentation that has occurred with all of our employees. And I just asked, I know that happens at various times depending on your local county, but let's just say, let's have those into the EZCs by the end of June, the end of the fiscal year.
Dave, there's a question in the chat about an updated evaluation form for county funded office staff. So those that are not part of Review SNAP, do we have an official document that we're using across?
Yeah, so it could be one of 2 things. So one would be certainly welcome to follow the Review SNAP process and those questions. And you can actually, the Review SNAP process I'm speaking of is actually online, and but you could also take the same 5 questions and just use those every 6 months. We do a spring and a fall conversation in the Review SNAP process. So you could actually do that in a hard copy format. And then I will look, I don't think this is still up online. At one time, there was a kind of a standard template assessment form for managerial professional and office support on the UNL HR website. I think that may have been replaced by Review SNAP, or maybe Carly has a link to it in the chat box. Did you find something, Carly?
This is just the link to the Review SNAP website, but you do have the option to do a paper copy. So if you scroll almost all the way down under performance conversation process, there's a blank performance conversation guide that's either a PDF or a Word that you can utilize that way, and then you don't even have to use the online system. But if you're a county employee, you could contact Becky Carter and still get enrolled in the online system if you'd like.
Right, thanks, Carly.
And I was really just wondering, because what I got from Judy Rasted when she was here, and she's been gone quite a while. Currently, like, I really don't have anybody, so I'm not super worried about anything because I have no one to evaluate. Going forward, I wanted to know what to do. So
yeah, great question, Jennifer. And I would encourage you to look at the Review SNAP documents. Ideally, in the perfect world, I'd love just to have all of our office support and extension assistance in that system. So we're consistent in the way we're having conversations, the frequency, and the way we're documenting performance with all of those individuals. On the extension assistant front, so this only applies to some of you. So the merit increases for extension assistants are almost complete. And so if you have a county funded UNL employed extension assistant, touch base with me if we haven't already visited, and what I can do is give you their merit increase that goes into effect July 1. So you'll remember when we did the equity increases back in January, there was an equity increase. And then I think what I said at the time is we were estimating maybe a 2.5% merit increase for extension assistants. So that's probably what some of you have already penciled into your budgets. That number may have changed slightly for some of you. So if you just touch base with me, if this applies to you, I can share with you what that projected actual increase will be for starting July 1. And then the last thing will be, also for extension assistants, if you are aware of extension assistants in your office who are interested in applying for promotion, so this would be after 5 years in service as of October 1 of this year, please contact me and let me know, just so we're aware that they are planning to apply. And I mentioned during huddle earlier in the week that we have a webinar coming up on June 22nd in the morning, specifically for extension assistants seeking a promotion. So that will be helpful. And then we can just provide any supports they need as they put together their file prior to October 1st. So let me know on that. And then the last thing is just budget in general. So your county budget, if you're anticipating having any challenges or already seeing challenges with your local county budget, please contact me. Let me in your EZC to make sure we are aware of that situation, and let's talk about whether we can do anything to help you and support you through the budget process. And those budgets, of course, some of those are due July 1 and some aren't going to be due until probably August 15th, and all of them go into effect officially September 15th or so. So it's a long budget period, it feels like, in Nebraska. But if there's anything brewing out there that you think we need to be aware of and talking about, please be in touch.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome.
We are going to move to the next piece, but certainly we'll have some time at the end as well for questions. And I'll invite anyone that likes to stay on after our time if they have additional questions as well. I'm going to share my screen again. And there we go. As I mentioned, the last piece on our agenda today is to kind of hit pause on our series because we want to celebrate the fact that this has been a year of the lead educator transition for those of you that have been here since April of 2021 or before that. And so the planning team that's been working on both developing the training in April of 2021 and this series that has taken place over the last year would just like to take a moment to pause and reflect on how we're doing, where we're going, and ask all of you to give us feedback on where to go next. So we have developed a survey around both of these major training pieces that we've been working on for the last year. And I just want to take a couple minutes to do a refresher on where we've been and some of the things we've gone over. So this first slide talks about the lead educator training that happened virtually in April of 2021. So if you think back all the way to a year ago, these are the three major buckets that we covered in that training around managing self before leading others. We did an in-depth review of the roles and responsibilities that are on the Lead Educator website under myextension.unl.edu, as well as promoting effective working relationships. And we had our keynote speaker, which was David Horsager at that training. And then we have followed that training with this series. So this Lead Educator Development Series. So you've gotten all of these Outlook invitations for this series that has happened every other month on a Thursday. And this is a refresher of the topics that we've covered in the last year through this series. So we started out with the Business Center update. We talked about hiring and onboarding. We spent a good amount of time on extension board meetings and member recruitment. Last month, we talked about office space in place, and then today, accountability region educators. And all of these topics came out of a lot of the feedback that we asked for in that April training in 2021. So the pieces where there were more lingering questions, or where all of you asked for additional information or more in-depth discovery on these topics. This is where we pulled those topics from, was from that training. So with that, and I have to recopy my link for all of you, but this is our lead educator survey. And so we're going to ask all of you right now to take a couple of minutes. It shouldn't take very long, but that way it doesn't just like sit in your inbox and then we let it go, right? We have 3 dedicated minutes for lead educator development. So we're going to put the link in the chat here, and or you can go to this right now and ask you to fill out this survey for us, which again, the first page has all the recap that I just went through. And then the next page is the questions. So we have a couple of ranking scales to think back to before we did the lead educator transition to right now. And really, we just are curious if any of this has been helpful for you. And if it hasn't been, then you know why have we been doing it. So this is the question of, is this relevant? Is it meaningful for you? And are there other pieces or other topics you'd like us to explore in the next year? How frequent would you like these to take place? And those types of things. So just checking in with all of you, and I'll give you a few minutes to complete the survey. If you have questions, go ahead and shout those out as well. All right, thanks, Lisa, for getting that in the chat box for everybody. I'm going to open it up to see if anyone has any lingering questions. Otherwise, I will let you finish up the survey and we'll sign off here. I'll stop our recording and we will get this posted on the Lead Educator Resources page, which is at myextension.unl.edu. There's a question in the chat about where we find previous recordings. And so again, that's on our Lead Educator Resources site. We post those regularly, and then I also send those out via email so everyone knows that they're posted. And we'll also send the survey link out to everybody as well, so they can follow up if they haven't. So at this point, I'm going to stop our recording and open it up for any questions. Otherwise, I'll let you finish the survey and say Happy May, everyone.